Welcome to Subramani. Today I'm going to talk about two people, father and son, and the fact that the Forbes list has more money managers than people who have their monies managed. Right? So typically, like they ask, where are the clients' yards? Right? So the clients' yards, I don't know where they are. There is one person who is a very good fund manager. He's been managing funds for a long time. So let us first talk about his father. Father is Phil Fisher. Phil Fisher introduced us to the world of growth investing. He had 15 questions, which is mentioned in this book of his, a very highly recommended book. No, I don't get a commission for selling this book, so it's not a paid promotion. It's a great book, and you should read it. It helped me invest in many infrastructure stocks. Utility stocks, Tata Power and all that. When I was buying, I used their questionnaire. I'm going to read you through the questionnaire. It's very long, maybe it'll take 2 episodes. But I should also add that Ken Fisher, who is Phil Fisher's son, he wrote a book which is this, and this book helped me sell in I think 2007 end. In 2007 end, I bought this book, and I think I got some 1000% return on it in one day, right? So you do go and annualize it over 365 days, and you know what kind of return I'm talking about. I think this book, Ken's book, covered the cost or the profit that I made because of reading Ken's book is 2x, 3x, 5x or something of my whole library cost, including the shelf, right? So that's the kind of ROI one gets on books, and of course one needs to read, assimilate, understand, implement, and perhaps even teach or even write about it, even talking about this, right? It's very useful to do that. So I will now, Phil Fisher uses something called some 15 questions for investing in equities. And remember, he launched his fund in 1931, and I think he was managing it till 1990. And Ken in his book says the worst mistakes that my father made was after the age of 70. Till then he was a great manager. Then his last 20 years, he lived till the age of 96. That is one thing I've seen. A good wealth manager or a good person managing long-term value investors live long. They take care of their bodies also. Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett are living examples. John Templeton, Phil Fisher himself, I think, died at the age of 96. Ken is 70 plus for sure. Maybe he's 80, I don't know. So, right, so all these people, I think, learn to take care of their health also. So, I think step one, take care of your health, and because if you don't live long, compounding won't work. Compounding could have worked magic for somebody like, say, a Rakesh. Let's say Rakesh was doubling his money every 3 years. So if he had lived another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I mean, possible that he could live till, if he lived like Warren Buffett is 92 plus, and Rakesh was 62 plus. Sorry, I'm digressing. Let me come to the questionnaire which Ken Fisher uses, which I used while investing. Nowadays, I don't do so much of diligent research, but let me run you through the questions. First question, does the company produce goods or services whose sales are likely to increase substantially for at least the next several years? This is very difficult question to answer because once upon a time these questions were, it was very legitimate to ask these questions, but today will companies last that long? I do not know. Will these, how innovative can you get, because everybody is getting more and more innovative. I always draw this parallel between European history. Remember, Europe created all the wars in the world, between European history and today's companies. In Europe, no king was rich enough, so how to get rich was to go and raid somebody and control the food and the people. You needed people to fight. So you went, you fought, and you looted them, and you brought enough food. That is the history of UK. So if you see UK not having money today, they are just wondering whom to loot. Now bring it to today's field. Facebook, Google or Tesla, all these people need to have very high growth rate to sustain the PE. What can they do? They can innovate. There's a limit. Then when there are small companies which are innovating, you can go and buy them. You can go and raid Facebook and pick people. They can come to Alphabet and pick people. They can all go to Tesla and pick people, right? So people have to be raided, brought, kept, and that's exactly what we are doing now. So the question is, do they produce goods or services which will last a few decades? I think that's a very difficult question to answer today. I will not be able to answer that question for something like some service provider like a Zomato or Byju's or somebody like that. You do not know how good is the service, how long it will last, and will it last decades. But that's a question which Phil says you should ask. It worked for him. Remember, even when he died, one of his growth companies, Motorola, did very well for him. After that, what happened to Motorola is different. But for Phil Fisher to be able to get, I mean, you could just invest in Bell Laboratories and you could have made a lot of money. After that, that whole industry collapsed is a different thing. So today, how to adapt that question, I don't know, but this is his first question. And then the second question is the management developing a new goods or services. Now this is a very tricky question. When companies came out and said, oh, we want to become a investment banker, and I would say, how are you going to be very different from a DSP or a Kotak who are already there? Well, they got funded, they're doing well, they've grown, they have reduced brokerages, they've done all kinds of things. Is that innovation? I don't know, but then everything gets funded because the VC wants to see isme paisa banega kya, and he is willing to fund. So not every VC is looking for very innovative things, but yes, somebody like Zomato or somebody like a Nykaa is very innovative in what they have thought. Is it so innovative that it will create profits for them over a long period of time, and will it sustain? That's a question I don't have an answer for. But yes, Phil's second question is management keen to develop new goods or services? I don't know. Is it a good service to say, I mean, there used to be a hotel nearby where you could call and say, Khana bhej do, and they would send. But somebody has made the delivery their business. Is it a new business? Well, it is definitely redefining an old business, but it is doing very well. Ola, Uber, Zomato, all of them. So they are definitely new, but can you create something newer than that? Can you do something disruptive? Right, the word disruptive was not there in 1931 for Phil Fisher, but the world itself was innovating a lot of things. But today, what else is there to innovate? We don't know. Obviously, something new will be there. So, is it creating a new goods or services? Does the company have an above average sales organization? Now, what is the sales organization? Sales organizations sell to people's insecurities. So HDFC Bank or an Axis Bank has a sales organization which will come and tell you, you must have this insurance or you're dead, right? I'm sorry, but that is exactly how it is sold to you. So mutual funds tell you, if you don't do this, you won't be able to retire. Everybody is launching a pension scheme and NPS and things like that, right? So it is sold to fear. So the question to ask is, does the company have an above average sales organizations? Once upon a time, it used to be Modi Xerox, it used to be Forbes, Eureka Forbes, from where people had to be picked. But today, all organizations think they are innovative by calling you 22 times a day to sell you a... There is one bank which calls me to give me a 3 lakh rupee personal loan and a 4 crore rupee home loan. I get both offers, same bank. And both say we are from the bank. We know that these are outsourced services, right? So, does the company have an above average sales organization? You have to answer it yourself. Does the company have a worthwhile profit margin? Well, Mr. Phil Fisher, we all fail here. We are building scale. And lo and behold, you won't even understand today's valuation, because today people are willing to fund losses, which was unheard of. And even forget Mr. Phil Fisher's 1931. Even when I was while I was doing CA, I had no clue how to value a company which was continually making losses, right? Well, this is Phil Fisher's question. What is the company doing to maintain or improve its profit margin? I really don't know, because many companies think along with scale, margins will come. Sometimes scale comes, but the margin doesn't come, right? Though not everybody has a pricing power in every product which they make. So Hindustan Unilever makes a Liril and a Lifebuoy, and then it introduces new products and says, only if you buy that we will give you this. Forget MRTP, etc. But that is exactly how it used to be sold. So do they have, how do they have that ability to improve their margins? Well, I really don't know. That is one question, how you will be answering that. Does it have very good labor and personal relationships? I really don't know, because does Zomato have great relationship? Well, Zomato is not even offering you employment. It is only offering you an entrepreneurship possibility. There is a driver working in Ola who works 48 hours a day, and there is somebody who is working 4 hours a day. Each person makes his own choice. So these are not companies which have great people, but it has good sales oriented, I would say, entrepreneurs rather than employees. A driver who is driving for Ola can also be riding for Zomato, right? On a day, some day he's doing Zomato work, some day he's riding Ola, some day he's riding Uber. All this is possible. This is not considered moonlighting, that you take your car and deliver a Zomato food product. It's feasible, not feasible, should they do it, should they go by cycle? We are not getting into it, but yes. Do they have great people? I don't know whether those, yes, many companies have great people, but are they poachable? That's the question to answer, right? I'll take it to the next one because it's already 11 minutes. Continuing the Phil Fisher questions, question number 8 is, does it have good relationship with its executives? First it was with the sales team, now with executives. The question is, does the CEO inspire confidence? I find this very difficult to answer, because you have people who are owner, promoters making fake invoices. How much trust and love can you have for a boss if you think that he is not really clean, right? So again, a difficult question to answer, but Phil Fisher says you must ask this question. Twist the question, saying, are you happy with the CEO? Are you happy with the board? Are you happy with their practices? As an investor, it's very difficult to even know how to attempt these kind of questions, right? Does the company have ability to attract talent? Again, I don't know. Ability to attract talent is completely lost, because by the time you prove yourself in Facebook, Alphabet is willing to take you. By the time you're doing well in Alphabet, Tesla is willing to take you. So there is a merry-go-round even in technology. So really, is it an edge having good people? I don't know, because your ability to attract people is good, but will you be able to retain them? That is the question which I think Phil Fisher is asking us to answer. How good are the company's methods of cost analysis and accounting? I hope they are good, because many of these companies believe, it's like growth investors who believe that the starting PE doesn't matter, because the company is going to grow at 30% for 30 years, right? If you're going to grow at 30% for 30 years, how does it matter if you pay 30 PE for a company like that? So that's the belief. Now 30% is questionable, 30 years is definitely questionable. No economy, no company, nobody grows at 30% for 30 years. But then for when doing the calculation, you believe it. So similarly, how good is the company's accounting and cost analysis? I seriously don't know. Are there other aspects of the business somewhat peculiar to the industry which will give the investor important clues about how outstanding the company may be compared with its competitors? This is again a very difficult question to answer. What distinguishes an Ola from an Uber, or a Zomato from a Swiggy, right? It's very difficult for you to say that, because these are new industries. You do not know from there what all you will add, right? What will you do with the data that you have? You have a lot of data. You have pin code wise biryani consumption, you have pin code wise puri bhaji consumption. How will you use it? How will you translate it to make more money, right? The edge for all these companies seems to be the knowledge that they have about the customer, or what they think they know about the customer. So they know that here is guy called Subra who has downloaded our app in 2019 and who has not used it from in 2019, 20, 21 and in 22 he has used it twice. I'm a lousy customer. If you can find out what kind of a phone that I'm using, then you know, okay, this guy is paying so much for a phone. Maybe he's a big consumer for food. Maybe give him better services. He's not so much worried about price. Maybe his daughter is more worried about price and less about services. So being able to take the data, assimilate it and increase sales, that is what you're trying to question. And what distinguishes, again, like I said, Swiggy from Zomato, or Ola from Uber, that's for you. I mean, what distinguishes HDFC Bank over ICICI Bank, or HDFC Bank over Axis Bank? Old businesses, old tradition. There is nothing which says you can't break a person from one bank and bring him to another. And we are so underbanked that all these banks will do well. Is it possible that in the next 5 years there is fantastic growth in the Indian economy, assuming for a minute that ICICI and HDFC Bank will grow, but Axis Bank and State Bank of India will not grow? That's not going to happen. But what distinguishes one bank from another? Why does one bank get a 30 PE, one bank get 20 PE, and one bank get 7 PE? Those are the questions for you to answer. Will the company's growth require so much equity finance that a larger number of shares outstanding will largely cancel the benefit from this anticipated growth? I have always asked this question a little differently. Is money so important that they will keep coming into the market to raise money? So if you take companies like Cholamandalam Investments, Sundaram Finance, HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank, they never come back into the market trying to raise money through equity. They just don't. If anything, they may raise some debt, but raising equity they don't. In fact, companies like Cholamandalam have also raised perpetual debt, which will obviously be a floating rate perpetual debt. So if the rate changes, you are benefiting. So it's like, when I say perpetual debt, people get scared, but equity is perpetual, right? You don't worry that Tata Steel will close down. You buy Tata Steel you buy it in 1965 and you sell it in 1995 maybe, but it is a perpetual thing. You believe that the end product has to be sold. Now similarly, in debt, why can't you take a view? Why can't I take a view that I'll put my money today in State Bank of India floating rate bond at 7%? I know going forward it will go down, it will go up, it will go down, it will fluctuate. But if you tell me that it is a 7% or 8% or whatever, and it will be reset every 6 months, I'm perfectly all right. I look at it saying, oh, in perpetuity my money will lie with State Bank of India. I'm happy with the credit risk. I will always get 1% below the gilt rate. So if the gilt rate is 8%, I'll get 7. If the gilt rate is 9%, I'll get 8. If the gilt rate is 4%, I'll get 3. So I don't have to look for a new investment product on a day-to-day basis, right? So similarly, if you can create such products, if a mutual fund can create such products, somebody else can copy. That's the problem. But the question is, what is this business which requires so much money again and again? That's the fear people have for businesses like airline. Because even though airline is capital intensive, right? You need to buy planes, you need to replace planes, you need to pay for insurance. It is an expensive business to be in, at least for startups like Indigo, and you can be a startup in this business for 20-25 years. Takes a long time to build. So the question is, if it keeps coming back into the market saying I need more equity, then the share may not be a good buy. So this was question number 13. We have got 2 more questions to go. Does the management talk freely to investors about its affairs when things are doing well, but become mute when troubles occur? This is again very difficult because you do not know who is sitting in the audience. What the management says is excessive for the investor who doesn't understand, but it is very dangerous and critical for if the competitor is sitting there and you have no clue who is attending your shareholders meeting, right? So to that extent you have to be wary. But yeah, a lot of information about companies are today compulsorily made available by SEBI in India and SEC in the US, and a lot of innovative, good quality journalists who will know exactly what to ask and what to get out of the company by talking to its employees, vendors, ex-employees, etc. So if the company clams up when it is doing badly, it's actually going to hurt the company. Well, it definitely means one thing, that I will stay away from the company, thanks to Phil Fisher's question list. Does the management have questionable integrity? I don't know why, but Phil Fisher puts it as question number 15. Nowhere does he say these 15 questions are, the numbers are interchangeable. So, but in my head, the first thing that I would ask is what is the quality of management, and if that is not good, for example, I have lived my life in Ghatkopar, so when some boys from Ghatkopar created a company, I was worried a lot about their competence rather than integrity. But when I don't know the promoters, I worry about integrity. And to me, integrity means are they good hunters? Do they kill well, and do they bring enough food to the table, and do they leave enough? Like, I want to invest in lions because lions go kill, eat 30% and leave the balance for the other animals. I'm not a lion, I don't have the ability to go and kill, right? But I'm a jackal, maybe I'm a fox, maybe I'm any of those things. So I need a lion whom I can follow, who will go and kill a big animal, and I will go and eat the leftovers. I'm perfectly all right. I'm a shareholder, I'm not a promoter. So I live with that. But the question is, integrity of promoters is something which has not bothered me so much. I don't want them to be on page 1 or on page 3 and be visible. I very firmly believe for most people it's better to be rich than be famous. Thank you.